My husband left me waiting for 3 hours at a fancy restaurant on our anniversary. When he finally showed up with his friends, he smirked. See? I told you she'd still be here, waiting like a faithful dog. They all laughed. I smiled, ordered another drink, then slipped out. His 78 missed calls began when he realized I'd booked a first-class flight to Paris, with his credit card. I checked my watch again. 8:47 p.m. 3 hours and 17 minutes of sitting alone at this table, nursing the same glass of wine that had long since gone warm. The waitstaff's pitying glances had evolved from professional concern to something worse. Genuine sympathy. Would you like another breadbasket, Mrs. Collins? The server, Kevin, approached with carefully crafted cheerfulness. This was his fourth time asking if I needed anything, each visit growing increasingly uncomfortable for us both. No thank you. I'm sure my husband will be here any minute. The words fell from my lips automatically, the same script I'd recited all evening. My fingers smoothed the front of my navy blue dress, the one I'd spent 2 hours choosing this morning. Mark had once said blue made me look almost elegant, which was as close to a compliment as I'd gotten in years. My phone buzzed again. I expected another text from Mark with another excuse, but instead it was Lisa, my college roommate. How's the anniversary dinner going? 15 years. That's something to celebrate. I set the phone face down without responding. What would I say? Still sitting alone while strangers watch me like I'm a tragic exhibit? The reservation had been for 5:30 p.m. Bistro Nouveau wasn't the fanciest place in town, but for me, it was special. Located in a renovated brick building downtown, it offered just enough sophistication to feel like a genuine celebration without the pretentiousness Mark typically preferred for business dinners. Before we continue this journey of self-discovery and reclamation, I want to take a moment to connect with you. If you've ever felt undervalued or overlooked in your relationships, know that you're not alone. Stories like Julia's remind us that it's never too late to recognize your worth. If these narratives of empowerment resonate with you, consider subscribing. It's completely free and helps us build a community where everyone's value is recognized. Now, let's return to Julia's moment of awakening. I'd spent an hour getting ready. The carefully applied makeup. The new lipstick that had cost more than I'd typically allow myself. The small pearl earrings that had been my grandmother's. All for a husband who couldn't be bothered to show up. My mind drifted back to 15 years ago, to the woman I used to be. Julia Hayes, recent culinary school graduate with 3 job offers and plans to eventually open her own restaurant. That Julia had dreams, ambition, and most importantly, a sense of self-worth. Before I became Julia Collins, dedicated wife of rising attorney Mark Collins. It's only temporary, Mark had said when he got the offer from the law firm in Pittsburgh. 2 years max, then we can move back and you can pursue your cooking. 2 years became 5 and Pittsburgh became Minneapolis, then Denver. Each move presented as the last stepping stone before my turn would come. I remembered packing up my professional knives before each move, keeping them oiled and ready for the day I'd use them for more than preparing dinner parties to impress Mark's colleagues. Eventually I'd stopped unpacking them completely. My phone buzzed again. Mark, finally. Traffic is insane. Be there soon. I glanced outside at the nearly empty street. The same excuse he'd texted an hour ago. I typed back, should I order for you? His response came quickly. Don't. Wait for me. A command, not a request. I flagged down Kevin again. Could I have some water, please? I requested, my voice tight with embarrassment. Of course. He hesitated, then added with genuine kindness, our kitchen closes at 10. Just so you know. I nodded, feeling my cheeks flush. It was now or never. I should leave. Any self-respecting woman would have walked out 2 hours ago. But 15 years of accommodating Mark's schedule, his needs, his career had worn down that instinct to a dull nub. Through the restaurant window I watched a young couple walk by, arms linked, laughing at some private joke. I tried to remember the last time Mark and I had laughed together. Not the performative chuckles at his firm's functions, but genuine laughter. Nothing came to mind. The couple disappeared from view, and I was left staring at my reflection in the darkened window. I barely recognized myself. My phone rang. Mark again. Hello. I answered, trying to keep the hurt from my voice. Julia got held up at the office. Johnson case is a mess. His voice had the clipped, distracted tone I knew all too well. Another 30 minutes, tops. The kitchen closes at 10, I said softly. I've been here since 5:30, Mark. A sigh on the other end. You're making this about you again. This case could make partner for me. It's our anniversary, I reminded him. I know what day it is, Julia, he snapped. Why do you think I made the reservation? A reservation he'd asked me to make 3 days ago, though he'd take credit for it now. I swallowed the correction. Just wait. I'll be there. He hung up without saying goodbye. An older couple at a nearby table was paying their bill. They'd arrived an hour after me, enjoyed a full meal together, and were now leaving. The woman caught my eye and gave me a small smile, another look of pity to add to my collection. I pulled out my compact mirror, checking my appearance. The careful makeup was still intact, but my eyes showed the strain of maintaining the facade. When had I become this person? This doormat? This faithful dog always waiting? Kevin approached again, this time with the manager, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. Mrs. Collins, the manager began gently, we're approaching our kitchen closure. Would you like to order something? We can prepare it quickly. The humiliation burned in my chest. My husband is on his way. Just another 30 minutes. She nodded, but the look she exchanged with Kevin said it all. They'd seen this before. Women waiting for men who might never arrive, making excuses for them, shrinking themselves. I took a long sip of water, remembering the day I'd turned down the sous chef position at Bellini's in Chicago to help Mark prepare for the bar exam. Once I'm established, you can cook wherever you want, he'd promised. A promise that evaporated like morning dew once he passed. The restaurant had emptied considerably. Only 3 other tables remained occupied. My phone buzzed with another text from Lisa. Everything okay? I looked around at the vacant chairs, the table set for 2 with one setting untouched, and the truth hit me with sudden clarity. Nothing about this was okay. Nothing about the last 15 years had been okay. I checked my watch one final time. 9:21 p.m. 3 hours and 51 minutes of waiting. And for what? The restaurant door swung open, sending a cool draft across my bare shoulders. Mark's voice carried first, that confident baritone that commanded courtrooms and dinner parties alike. Then came the laughter, multiple voices, not just his. My stomach dropped. Mark strode in, not alone but flanked by 3 people I recognized immediately. Daniel from corporate law, Rebecca from litigation, and Thomas, a senior partner. All still in their office attire, not a hint of rush or concern on their faces. They'd never been stuck in traffic. They'd never been coming from the office. They'd been at Maxwell's bar, the attorney hangout 2 blocks away. Kevin, my faithful server, shot me a look of confusion as Mark approached with his entourage. I straightened my posture instinctively, trained by years of performing the role of the perfect attorney's wife. I even managed a smile, the muscles in my face moving automatically while my heart cracked beneath the surface. Well, gentlemen and Rebecca, Mark announced as they reached my table, his voice carrying just enough to draw attention from nearby diners. He gestured toward me with a sweeping hand motion, his gold cufflinks catching the light. See? I told you she'd still be here, waiting like a faithful dog. The words struck me like a physical blow. My smile froze in place. They laughed, all of them. Rebecca's delicate hand covering her mouth, Thomas's deep chuckle, Daniel's snicker. These people had eaten my homemade cocoa vin at our dinner parties. I'd listened to Rebecca cry about her divorce in my guest bathroom. Thomas had brought his children to our 4th of July barbecue where I'd spent hours preparing food everyone raved about. For hours, Daniel said, checking his watch. You win, Mark. Drinks are on me next time. A bet. They'd made a bet about whether I would wait. Told you, Mark replied, loosening his tie as he took the seat across from me. The others remained standing, still smirking. Julia understands the demands of a successful law career. Don't you, honey? His eyes held no apology, no shame, only smug satisfaction. This wasn't a man running late. This was a man making a point. Would you like to order drinks? Kevin appeared, his professional smile strained as he assessed the situation. We've actually already had quite a few, Thomas chuckled, patting his substantial belly. Just stopped by to say hello to the lovely Mrs. Collins here. And to see if she'd really wait all night, Rebecca added, not even attempting to lower her voice. I noticed a young couple at a nearby table exchange uncomfortable glances. At least some people recognized the cruelty unfolding. My husband and his colleagues didn't seem to register, or care about, the audience to my humiliation. "I'll have another glass of wine," I said to Kevin, my voice coming out steadier than I expected. "The Cabernet, please." "Make it the bottle," Mark corrected. "We're celebrating 15 years of marital bliss." His hand reached across to pat mine in a gesture that probably looked affectionate to outsiders but felt possessive, triumphant. Kevin nodded and retreated, throwing me another sympathetic glance. "I should head out," Thomas said, checking his phone. "Cynthia's waiting. Congratulations on the anniversary, you two. Mark, see you at the Johnson deposition tomorrow." Rebecca and Daniel also made their excuses, offering congratulations that rang hollow after their participation in my public humiliation. As they left, Mark settled into his chair more comfortably, as if the evening were just beginning. "You should have ordered," he said, picking up the menu. "Kitchen's probably closing soon." "Why did you do that?" I asked quietly. "Do what?" His eyes didn't leave the menu. "Bring your colleagues here. Make a bet about whether I'd wait." He looked up then, mild annoyance crossing his features. "It was just a joke, Julia. Don't be so sensitive. Besides, it's good for them to see what a supportive wife I have. Thomas's wife would have left after 30 minutes. He said this as if I should feel proud. Kevin returned with the wine and took Mark's order with professional detachment. When he turned to me, I simply said, "Nothing for me, thank you." "You're not eating?" Mark frowned. "I've lost my appetite." 4 hours of anxiety and humiliation had ensured that. "Suit yourself." He shrugged, turning his attention to his phone. I watched him, this man I'd given 15 years to, and felt something shift inside me. The restaurant's ambient noise seemed to fade as clarity washed over me. I wasn't angry, I was awake. "I need to use the restroom," I said, rising from my seat. Mark barely glanced up, already absorbed in his emails. In the privacy of the bathroom's single stall, I leaned against the door and took my first deep breath in hours. My reflection in the mirror showed a woman I barely recognized, poised, put together, and completely hollow. I pulled out my phone and opened the rideshare app, my fingers moving with newfound determination. A car could be here in 3 minutes. Next, I checked my banking app. Our joint account showed Mark's recent bar tab at Maxwell's. $147.82 for office drinks. My separate credit card was linked to his premium account, the one he'd insisted I keep for emergencies. I'd rarely used it. He'll know. With trembling fingers, I pulled up the airline app. 1 first-class ticket to Paris. Available on the midnight flight. The cost made me hesitate for only a moment before I pressed confirm. I thought of the small box of professional chef knives, still packed from our last move. The culinary dreams I'd deferred. The restaurants in Paris I'd read about in stolen moments, imagining flavors I longed to experience. The confirmation came through, seat 3A. Departing to Paris in just under 3 hours. I reapplied my lipstick, straightened my shoulders, and walked back to the table where Mark was already halfway through his meal. "You know what?" I said, sliding back into my seat. "I think I will have another drink after all." The whiplash of emotions hit me as the plane touched down at Charles de Gaulle Airport. Exhaustion from the overnight flight battled with adrenaline. I'd done it. I'd actually left. My phone, which I'd switched to airplane mode after the 20th call from Mark, now buzzed incessantly as messages flooded in. 47 missed calls. 78 text messages. I scrolled through them, watching the progression from confusion to anger to panic. "Where are you? Answer your phone now. The credit card company called about fraud." "What did you do?" "Julia, this isn't funny anymore. Your parents are worried sick. I had to call them. Please just let me know you're safe. I'm sorry about last night. It was just a joke. Whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Come home. I've called the police." The last one gave me pause. Would the police actually look for me? I was an adult who had chosen to travel. I wasn't missing, I was leaving. I sent one text to my sister Claire. "I'm safe. We'll explain later. Don't worry. Please don't tell Mark anything." Then powered off my phone completely. Stepping outside the airport into the crisp Parisian morning, I felt both terrified and strangely free. I had only my hastily packed carry-on, A change of clothes, basic toiletries, my passport and wallet. No plan beyond escape. The taxi driver spoke little English, but hotel was universal enough. Somewhere not too expensive, I added, unsure if he understood. Near good food. He nodded and pulled away from the curb. Through the window, Paris unfolded. Not the postcard version, but the real, breathing city waking up for the day. Street sweepers clearing sidewalks. Bakers carrying trays. Early commuters hurrying to metros. We arrived at a narrow street in what I'd later learn was the 11th arrondissement. The hotel cuisine was small, its blue awning faded but charming. Not a tourist trap, but a place where actual Parisians might recommend to visiting friends. Bonjour, I attempted at the front desk, my French pronunciation embarrassingly American. Good morning, replied the concierge in perfect English, his smile kind. Welcome to Hotel Cuisine. Do you have a reservation? I shook my head. I'm sorry, no. It was a spontaneous trip. Something in my expression must have communicated more than my words. He nodded thoughtfully. We do have a single room available. 3 nights minimum. Will that work for you, miss? Mrs. I stopped myself. Julia. Julia Hayes. My maiden name felt foreign on my tongue after 15 years. The concierge, Michael, according to his nameplate, was American, from Boston originally. He'd moved to Paris 12 years ago for love, and stayed for the food after the relationship ended. As he processed my credit card, he offered suggestions for nearby cafes and walking routes, marking them on a small map. The best place for your first proper French coffee is just around the corner, he said, circling a spot. Café Artiste. Tell Marie that Michael sent you. The room was tiny but immaculate. A single bed, small writing desk, and window overlooking a courtyard where herbs grew in organized rows. I showered away the flight, changed clothes, and ventured out before I could second-guess myself. Café Artiste was buzzing with morning activity. I ordered un café au vous plate, and took a small table by the window, watching Parisians go about their Wednesday morning. The coffee arrived, dark and perfect, alongside a tiny pastry I hadn't ordered. Compliments of the house for new faces, explained the server in accented English. I bit into the pastry, buttery layers giving way to almond cream, and nearly cried at the perfection. This was why I'd once wanted to cook professionally, to create moments like this. Julia? Julia Hayes. I turned to find a woman staring at me in disbelief. Blonde bob, sharp cheekbones, chef's pants beneath a leather jacket. Elise. I barely recognized my culinary school classmate under her newer, sophisticated appearance. Gone was the girl with wild curls and perpetually stained apron. Elise Martineau? It's Elise Durant now, but yes. She embraced me, European-style kisses on both cheeks. What are you doing in Paris? Last I heard you were married to some hotshot lawyer in Denver. It's complicated, I managed. Are you working here in Paris? Sous chef at Ambrose, just down the street. She named a restaurant I'd read about in culinary magazines. Been here 6 years now. But you? I thought you gave up cooking when you got married. I did. Elise slid into the chair across from me. Such a waste. You were the most talented in our class. Her eyes narrowed. I never understood why you turned down that position at Rendezvous in Chicago. That was your dream job. I blinked. I never got an offer from Rendezvous. Elise's expression shifted from confusion to concern. Yes, you did. Chef Martin told me himself he offered you the sous chef position. He was shocked when you declined. I never declined anything because I never got an offer. My hands tightened around my coffee cup. Chef Martin called you about me? He called several of us. He was putting together his dream team, wanted recommendations. I told him you were the best choice. He paused, studying my face. Julia, he said your husband called back to decline for you. Said you decided to focus on family. Family. The word sliced through me. We tried for children early in our marriage, facing disappointment after disappointment until Mark declared it wasn't meant to be, and threw himself even more completely into his career. That's impossible, I whispered, but even as I said it, I knew it was exactly what Mark would do. There were other inquiries about you too, Elise continued carefully. Over the years, your name would come up and then suddenly the interest would disappear. A cold realization spread through me. How many opportunities had been intercepted? How many paths redirected without my knowledge? I need to use your phone, I said suddenly. Please. Elise handed me her phone without hesitation. I typed in a name I hadn't searched in years. Chef Anton Beaumont. My culinary instructor, mentor, and the man who had once told me I had hands that understand food. His website appeared immediately, displaying upcoming events. My heart nearly stopped when I saw it. Classic French Techniques Workshop, Paris, April 15th to 20th. That was tomorrow. Elise, do you know if Chef Beaumont's workshop still has openings? She smiled. He's an old friend. I'm assisting with the workshop. I can get you in. 24 hours later, I stood in a professional kitchen at Le Cordon Bleu, chopping shallots with practiced precision as Chef Beaumont circulated among the 12 participants. He had embraced me with genuine delight when Elise introduced us, not a hint of judgment in his eyes when I explained my extended absence from professional cooking. The hands remember what the mind forgets, he said, watching me work. Your technique is still beautiful, Julia. Over lunch break, Elise introduced me to Martine Fournier, a food writer for Civa's digital division, and Philippe Renaud, who owned 3 bistros in Paris. They asked questions about American food trends, genuinely interested in my perspective despite my years away from the industry. You have a distinctive way of describing flavor, Martine noted after I explained a dish. Very precise, very evocative. Do you write about food? I shook my head. Not professionally. You should. She handed me her card. Send me something. That evening I finally called my sister from the hotel phone. Claire answered on the first ring, her voice tense. Julia? Is that you? It's me. I'm in Paris. A long pause. Paris? What happened? Mark's been calling everyone. He says you're having some kind of breakdown. Did you believe him? Another pause. No. But I didn't know what to believe. You just disappeared. I told her everything. The anniversary dinner, the humiliation, Elise's revelation about the job offers. Claire's breath caught when I mentioned Chicago. You know what's crazy? She said. We all saw it. The way he isolated you, criticized you, controlled everything. Even Mom noticed how you stopped talking about cooking after you got married. Why didn't anyone say anything? We tried, Jewel. Remember when I visited last year and suggested you take that community college cooking class? Mark spent the entire dinner explaining why it was a waste of time. After that, Mom and I talked about staging an intervention, but we were afraid you'd choose him. He had you so convinced that his way was the only way. I closed my eyes, remembering how defensive I'd been whenever anyone questioned Mark's decisions. What are you going to do now? Claire asked. I don't know. But I'm not coming back. Not yet. Good, she said firmly. Stay away until you remember who you are. The next day, Elise offered me a temporary position helping prep at the bistro where she worked. Nothing fancy, she cautioned. Mostly chopping vegetables and making basic sauces. But it's a start. It was more than a start. It was resurrection. With each precisely diced carrot and each perfectly executed sauce, I felt pieces of myself returning. The heat of the kitchen, the synchronized dance of the staff, the satisfaction of sending out beautiful food. These were the things I had surrendered. In the evenings I started writing in a notebook Michael had given me. Not just recipes but stories about food, about Paris, about rediscovery. I created an anonymous blog, The Runaway Chef, documenting my culinary reawakening. A week into my stay, Michael knocked on my door, his expression troubled. There's a man asking about you at the front desk. American, says he's your husband. My blood froze. Mark's here. I didn't confirm you were staying here, Michael assured me. Hotel policy. But he left his number. Said to tell you your parents are very worried, and there are financial matters that need immediate attention. That night my sister called the hotel. Mark showed up at Mom and Dad's yesterday, she reported. Told them you've had some kind of psychotic break, that you've emptied accounts and maxed out credit cards. Dad almost believed him until I showed them your texts. Are they okay? They're worried but on your side. Dad said, and I quote, if she needed to go to Paris to get away from him, then she needed to go to Paris. I think he's finally seeing Mark clearly. Over the next 2 weeks I settled into a rhythm. Mornings at the bistro, afternoons exploring Paris or attending Chef Beaumont's workshops, evenings writing. I felt myself growing stronger, more certain with each passing day. Mark's attempts to contact me grew more desperate. He called the bistro twice. He messaged mutual friends asking about me. He even contacted Chef Beaumont, claiming to be supporting his wife's culinary interests. Each attempt hit emptier and emptier space as I systematically blocked every avenue of contact. I updated my blog daily, pouring my thoughts and experiences into it, describing the perfect croissant I'd discovered at a tiny bakery, the knife skills I was relearning, the way sunlight hit the Seine in early morning. 3 weeks after my arrival, Martine Fournier appeared at the bistro during my shift. "I've been reading your blog," she said, sliding onto a bar stool. "Elise told me it was yours." My face warmed. "It's just something I've been doing for myself." "It's excellent. Your piece about the sensory memory of your grandmother's kitchen made me call my own mother." She placed her business card on the counter. "Saveur is expanding its digital presence in Europe. We need someone who understands both American and French food perspectives. Someone who can develop recipes and write about them with passion and precision." I stared at the card. "You're offering me a job?" "A 3-month contract to start. If it works out, we'll discuss something permanent." She smiled. "The editor tried your apple tart with rosemary cream when he dined here last week. He said it was the most interesting dessert he's had all year." The head chef had allowed me to create a special dessert for the weekend menu. I hadn't realized anyone important had tried it. "This isn't charity," Martine added, seeing my hesitation. "This is recognition of talent. Your husband may have derailed your career once, but he doesn't get to do it twice. Unless you let him." I picked up her card, feeling its weight in my hand. "When would you need an answer?" "Take the weekend. Call me Monday." She stood to leave, then turned back. "Julia, whatever you decide about the job, don't stop writing. Your voice matters." Monday morning arrived with unexpected clarity. I'd spent the weekend considering Martine's offer, walking along the Seine and drafting a formal acceptance letter. As I approached the bistro for my morning shift, a familiar figure leaning against the entrance stopped me cold. "Mark." He straightened when he saw me, adjusting his tie, a power move I recognized from countless firm functions. He'd lost weight, and shadows beneath his eyes suggested sleepless nights, but his expression shifted quickly into the concerned husband persona I knew was for public consumption. "Julia," he said, voice deliberately gentle. "Thank God. I've been so worried." Several kitchen staff members glanced our way as they entered for their shifts. Mark stepped forward, arms outstretched as if for an embrace. I stepped back. "How did you find me?" My voice remained steady, surprising even myself. "Does it matter? I'm here now. We can sort this out." He reached for my arm. "Let's go somewhere private to talk." Chef Pascal appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay, Julia?" His limited English carried a protective tone. "It's fine," I assured him. "My husband was just leaving." "Actually," Mark interjected with his courtroom smile, "my wife and I need to have an important conversation. Family emergency back home." Pascal looked to me for confirmation. I shook my head slightly. "Take the day," Pascal said to me. "But the choice to return is yours." Mark waited until Pascal disappeared inside before his expression hardened. "This little vacation has gone on long enough. I've covered for you with everyone, said you needed space after a health scare. We can still fix this if you come home now." "I'm not coming home, Mark." He glanced around the street, then guided me toward a small park across the way, his hand firmly on my elbow. Once seated on a bench, his facade cracked completely. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The credit card company is investigating fraud. The firm is asking questions. Your parents think I've driven you to some kind of breakdown." His voice rose with each sentence. "And now I find you playing chef in some second-rate bistro? This is beneath you, Julia." "No," I said quietly. "What was beneath me was waiting alone at that restaurant table. What was beneath me was letting you sabotage my career opportunities without my knowledge." His expression flickered. "What are you talking about?" From my bag, I withdrew a folder containing printed emails, communications I'd gathered over the past month from Chef Martin at Rendezvous, from a catering company in Denver that had tried to recruit me, from a cooking school in Minneapolis. All confirming the same pattern. Inquiries about my availability followed by declinations they'd received, supposedly from me. You had no right, I said, keeping my voice level as he scanned the papers. Those were my opportunities. My choices to make. I was protecting you from disappointment, he countered, but his confidence wavered. You weren't ready for those positions. I knew what was best. No, you knew what was best for you. A wife without a demanding career. Someone always available to host your dinner parties and attend your firm events. His jaw tightened. I supported you. Gave you a beautiful home, financial security. A cage isn't beautiful just because it's expensive, Mark. A young couple walked by, glancing curiously at our tense conversation. Mark lowered his voice. This little rebellion ends now. Rebecca saw your food blog. Thomas knows you're in Paris. How do you think it looks for me that my wife ran off to play Julia Child while I'm being considered for partner? I hadn't realized my blog had reached his colleagues. A small, satisfied smile tugged at my lips. That wasn't intentional, but I'm not sorry. They should know who you really are. His face flushed. Is that what this is? Some calculated revenge plot? Destroy my reputation because I was late for dinner? This isn't about revenge, Mark. It's about reclaiming my life. I've been offered a position with Siva magazine. I'm taking it. A food magazine? He scoffed. That's hardly a career. What about our life together? Our home? I've spoken with a lawyer. The divorce papers will arrive next week. I hadn't actually done this yet, but the look of shock on his face was worth the premature announcement. You can't be serious. Panic etched into his voice. We can work through this. Couples therapy. A fresh start somewhere new. Like Chicago? I said pointedly. Where I was offered my dream job. He flinched. That was years ago. I did what I thought was right at the time. For yourself. I stood, suddenly exhausted by the conversation. I'm not coming back, Mark. Not to Denver, not to our marriage. I found something here I didn't even realize I'd lost, myself. And what about everything I've lost because of your selfish actions? His voice hardened again. Do you know Thomas questioned my judgment in the Johnson case yesterday? Said if I couldn't handle my personal life, maybe I wasn't ready for bigger responsibilities. So that was why he'd finally tracked me down. Not concern for me but damage control for his career. That sounds like a you problem, I said, using one of his favorite dismissive phrases. For a moment I thought he might shout or grab my arm again. Instead his shoulders slumped slightly. You've changed, he said almost accusingly. Yes, I agreed. I have. We parted without resolution, the weight of 15 years settling between us like an invisible wall. I watched him walk away, his normally confident stride slightly diminished. The divorce proceeded more smoothly than I'd anticipated. Mark, ever conscious of appearances, agreed to most terms rather than risk a public battle that might further damage his professional reputation. The lawyer Martine recommended, an American expatriate specializing in international divorces, proved invaluable. I accepted the position with Siva, starting a new chapter that connected my rediscovered passion with unexpected opportunities. My blog gained followers, including several restaurant owners and food critics. The me that had been silenced for 15 years found her voice again, stronger and more confident than before. 6 months later, I hosted a small dinner party in my new apartment. A charming one-bedroom in the 6th arrondissement with a kitchen that made up for its modest size with excellent natural light and a view of a neighborhood courtyard. Around my table sat the new pillars of my life. Elise and her partner, Chef Beaumont, Martine and her husband, Michael from the hotel who had become a dear friend, and 2 colleagues from Siva. I served a menu that celebrated my journey. Appetizers inspired by my culinary school days. A main course that honored traditional French techniques while incorporating American flavors, and for dessert, the apple tart with rosemary cream that had changed my trajectory. As we lingered over wine and conversation, my phone buzzed with a text. Mark's name appeared on the screen for the first time in months. Whatever crisis or reconciliation attempt he was launching would have to wait. Without opening the message, I deleted it, returning my attention to the laughter and warmth surrounding my table. In that moment, watching my new friends enjoy food I had created with my own hands, I felt something settle within me. A quiet certainty that this, finally, was what I was worth. Not 15 years of waiting but a lifetime of becoming.